In this tutorial, we're going to learn to make this baby blanket. It's called the Pick-A-Knit blanket, Pick-A-Knit blanket from Appalachian Baby Design. And if you would like to get your yarn kit to follow along, this is what the yarn kit looks like. Just click the little eye in the upper right-hand corner. That'll take you to my website where I'll have a link to Appalachian Baby. And I will also have a link to their Find a Retailer webpage. So you can support your local yarn shop. You can get your yarn kit right away at your local yarn shop just by taking a look at where the different yarn stores carry this kit. Anyway, the kit comes with 6 balls of their organic cotton yarn, and I love working with this company. They really do have the most beautiful stuff and a great philosophy. And all of their cotton comes from family-owned, sustainable small farms, and their cotton happens to come from Texas, where I live. And this pattern uses 3 colors, doe, natural, and silver in the yarns, in the organic cotton in sport weight. And it's just the most simple thing that makes the most elegant blanket. There's a little bit of a different stitch pattern in each section where you change color, and it comes together to make this gorgeous blanket. If you want to check out the other stuff that Appalachian Baby has, they really focus on these beautiful heirloom patterns, baby knits for the most part, and then their beautiful cotton yarns. You have to check it out. They make really great stuff. And I love their philosophy. I want to read this bit here from their website. Rather than succumbing to the prevailing forces of mass production and mass consumption, our yarn provides another path to take, a slow and easy meditation on a world where individual efforts make a difference. That's pretty great for a knitting company. I love it. That's a great philosophy. Anyway, click the little eye to get your copy of your kit and copy of the pattern, and I am going to put this at an advanced beginner knit level. If you can knit and purl, then you can make this blanket, because I'm going to cover everything else in this tutorial. And that's where we're going to get started next, is casting on. Okay, we are ready to get started on the techniques used in this blanket. And something I didn't say in the intro that I wanted to say is that this is completely machine washable and dryable, which I know is really important when you have kids and how messy they get things. We're going to cover everything that you need to know to knit this blanket, all of the techniques used. But first up, let's get a close-up look at the blanket. Okay, I can't show the whole blanket on camera, but I can show you the bits of it. We have a seed stitch border on each end and a seed stitch border that continues up the sides. And then you can see we start with the baby doe colored yarn and move into the silver and then the natural. And this section is a basket weave section, then a checkerboard section, a zigzag, and you just keep moving through those stitches. And they're not difficult stitches to work in. They're knit purl stitches, but excuse me, there's enough going on. It's simple enough for someone who isn't a really experienced knitter, but it's also interesting enough for someone who is an experienced knitter, because things keep changing. And here's the other side. These stitch patterns are the same on both sides. So there's no right or wrong side to this blanket, which is good, which is handy. Okay, when you get started, before you get started on the blanket, you're going to want to knit a swatch. And here's my swatch, and this has also been machine washed and dried. And you'll want to cast on 20 stitches and knit for 27 rows in seed stitch. And you want that to end up about 4 by 4. And if you are pretty close, you're fine. There's enough yarn in this kit that you're not going to run out of yarn. If your gauge is a little off, if your swatch is a little big. But I would say if your swatch is significantly smaller than 4 by 4, then I would go up a needle size, because you don't want to knit a tiny baby blanket, right? So knit your swatch, wash and dry it like you want to be able to wash and dry the finished blanket, and then measure your gauge. And you can see I'm just a little off here. My swatch is a little wide. It didn't make a difference. I had plenty of yarn left over, so I know that I could have, my swatch could have ended up even bigger and it wouldn't have made a difference. Okay, so you've got your swatch Again, let me repeat, if your swatch is small, go up a needle size or two. Okay. The first thing you're going to do is to cast on a bunch of stitches because it's a blanket. So this is the way that I like to cast on a whole lot of stitches to make it easy on myself so I don't have to do the cast on multiple times. You can work this on circular or straight needles. Circular needles are maybe a little easier on your hands because the weight of, when the blanket starts to get heavy, the weight of the blanket will be on the cord and in your lap and not on the ends of straight needles pulling on your wrists. So to leave yourself enough yarn for the long tail cast on, you can leave yourself like a 6-inch tail and then start wrapping and counting. And each one of these wraps is enough for one stitch. So you can count, wrap, get yourself up to, 50 or 100, and then, double or quadruple that yarn to get to the cast on number. And this method will leave you with a little more yarn than you need for the cast on, but it's better than running out, right? So when you're doing this cast on, when you're doing the cast on for this blanket and casting on a lot of stitches, this is how I like to do it. After you measure how much you need, you just get your slip knot on that spot and start doing the cast on. And I'm doing the long tail cast on, which is my favorite for everything. And I'll give you a link to the way that I work the long tail cast on. And I know that it can be frustrating to cast on a lot of stitches because, the phone rings or a dog is chewing up a sofa cushion if you are in my house, and you have to stop and you have to recount how many you've done multiple times, but this is how I do it. I cast on either 25 or 50, the number that I'm comfortable counting up to, and I count those stitches, and then I place a marker and never count those stitches again, and then cast on the next 25 or 50. And then, obviously I'm not casting on 25 or 50 here, and then place another marker, never count those stitches again, and keep going. So it's much easier to keep track if you are likely to be disturbed or if you just sometimes lose track when you're counting. So this is the baby doe color that I'm working with, and here's the natural, and here's the silver. It really is such gorgeous yarn. So nice to work with too. Okay, so that's your cast on, and now I want to talk about seed stitch, because that's what I have in this in the swatch. That's how you want to knit your swatch, is in seed stitch, and it's just alternating knit purls. And when you get to the following row, the next row in every row of seed stitch, you purl the knits and knit the purls. And I want to show you what that means, and I want to show you how to recognize knit and purl stitches. Okay, big change from the soft mellow colors of the Appalachian baby yarn. I wanted to do this in bulky bright yarn so you can really see this. Okay, this is a seed stitch sample, excuse me, and I want to show you how to recognize the knits and the purls. First, let's isolate this stitch right here. So we have the stitch on the needle and this loop below it. You see this horizontal loop, it looks like the stitch is wearing a scarf around its neck. That is a purl stitch. And then if we isolate the stitch next to it, you see how there is a V here under the stitch on the needle. That is a knit stitch. And because it's alternating, we know scarf, purl stitch, V, knit stitch, scarf, purl stitch, V, knit stitch. And if you can recognize knits from purls, you'll be able to pick up with seed stitch wherever you are in the work and not be confused about what stitch comes next. So I'm ready to work my next row of seed stitch here. And I'll tell you, the edge is kind of hard to tell sometimes. So I always look at the next stitch and I can see that that's a V, that's a knit, and since this is a knit, this has to be a purl. And because this is a purl, I'm going to knit it. So I'm going to start with a knit stitch, yarn forward to work a purl stitch, yarn back to work a knit, and just keep working along in my knits and purls. And then let's say I get distracted, the phone rings, something, I pick it back up. Okay, where am I? Well, my next stitch is a purl and that one's a knit. And since this is a purl, I'm going to start with a knit stitch. And there's so much seed stitch in this blanket that it's good to recognize this, so you can just pick up wherever you left off or for the next row. But being able to recognize knit stitches and purl stitches is a good skill to have for all kinds of patterns, for almost everything you do. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is how to change color. And I'm going to stick with this bulky yarn for this. And the colors I'm using are not nearly as pretty as the Appalachian Baby yarn. So I'm going to show you how to knit, how to change colors, and how I recommend changing colors in this cotton yarn. I'm going to put my needle in. Well, actually, the pattern's really clear about this. That says exactly when you can cut your yarn. And so that's what I just did. I just cut the yarn on the red, and I'm ready to go on my new color, this gray. So I put my needle in, wrap it, and pull it through with the new color. I've left myself like a 6-inch tail there. And then just keep working my pattern in the new color. I usually knit 5 or 6 stitches. Then I stop and turn the work over, and I have 2 ends. And I tie a kind of a gentle knot without pulling too hard, without messing up the tension. And then I tie a second knot and pull it a little bit harder. And then I tie a third knot and really wrench on it. Okay? And this is how I always treat cotton. And there are a few things we want to do with these ends because it's cotton yarn, we can really wrench on it, and we want the knots to stay put through multiple machine washes and dries, right? So, and in the next segment, I'll show you how to weave in ends in cotton so that they really stay put. Okay, so that's how you're going to change color each time. Just be sure to tie a triple knot and really, really pull on it. All right. So the next thing I want to show you is the chart reading. This pattern comes with both charted and written instructions. So if you already know you don't like working charts, you can just skip this part. But it's a simple chart pattern. Every single one of the different stitch combos is charted out. You have the option of either. And if you want to start exploring chart reading, this is a good pattern to start with. Okay, when we're looking at charts, especially one that's written right and wrong sides, we're not knitting in the round, we're going to start row 1 reading it right to left. And then row 2, we're going to read it left to right. Every odd number row is right to left. Every even is left to right. Okay, that's the basics. The next thing is we are just going to look at what's inside this blue square, because that's the pattern repeat. And each square is a stitch. And we start here with the black dot. And the black dot on the right side, which is the odd numbered rows, is a purl stitch. So we start out purl, 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 purl. And then the empty box on the right side is a knit stitch. Knit, 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 knit. So this is only 8 stitches, and we've cast on far more than 8 stitches. So you're going to repeat 4 purls, 4 knits, 4 purls, 4 knits, all the way across the blanket, and until you get to the last 4 stitches, which are purl, 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 purl. And that's what the pattern repeat is for, because the cast-on number is a multiple of 8 plus 4. Now don't let yourself overthink this and get confused by it, because when you're actually working across the row, you will have worked purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit over and over again so many times, it's going to be obvious that the next 4 stitches are purls. But in any pattern, when you see a block like this that says pattern repeat, this is the part you're repeating over and over again, and this is how you treat the remaining stitches when you don't have enough, the last 4 stitches in this case, and you don't have enough to do the whole pattern repeat again. And then when we start with round 2, we're going to start off with an empty square, which on the wrong side is purl, 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 knit, 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 and then start out purl, 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 knit, 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 knit. Okay, so you're just going to keep following along with, you're going to knit the knits and purl the purls, which is the opposite of what we did in seed stitch. Actually, I just messed up. Round 2, you're going to start here, or row 2, you're going to start here, which is knit, 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 purl, 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 knit, 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 and then you ignore that part and just keep working the pattern repeat from there, which will take you to the end of the row. So you do start out row 2 here, all of the even numbered rows with the extras outside of the pattern repeat. So each one of the stitch combinations is charted, and I picked out this one to show you because it has a little bit of everything. It has knits and purls and the pattern repeat and the stitches left over. So the other charts really just follow suit with this one. This is the most complicated of all the charts, and you can see it's not a very difficult chart. And if ever you're in doubt, and you're in doubt of exactly how to read it with the pattern repeat, you can always just go to the written instructions and take a look at those and clarify it, and then go back to the chart if you like. Okay. I think we covered all of the techniques used in this blanket. I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, I did. We did everything. Okay, you can see that the pattern is not difficult to knit. It's just knits and purls. It's just if you want to follow the chart or the written instructions. Next up, we are going to talk about finishing work and washing and blocking. After you finish your blanket, all that you have left to do is to weave in the ends, or maybe you've been weaving in the ends as you go. You're one of those good people. Weave in the ends and then wash and dry it, and a little bit of blocking, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So first, let's talk about weaving in the ends to make sure we get a really, really tight knot. Okay, this is my swatch again, and I've actually attached a yarn to my swatch so that I would have something to weave in, because I just cut those short when I washed it. So here I have a tapestry needle and the yarn, and every time we've attached a new color, we did that really tight triple knot. So things are pretty secure already, but we want to get the ends away from the edge of the blanket and get them woven in. And so the goal here is not to weave in the end really securely like we do when we're weaving in ends in wool. The goal really is to just get it away from the edge of the work. Okay, which I have done there. And now this is the way I always weave in ends on cotton things. I'm going to untwist the plies and separate them like this. And this is a 4-ply yarn, so it's 2 and 2. Take 2 of those and thread them back on the needle, and then just take it. My 2 yarns are coming out of here. I'm just going to go under this strand right here so that the 2 halves of the plies are coming out of 2 different areas. That's so I can tie them in a knot, if everything would stop jumping around. They're coming out of 2 different areas, so I can tie it in a knot. And just like I did with the changing colors, I'll tie kind of a gentle knot. And then, to make sure I don't mess with the tension of the fabric, and then a little tighter. And then a 3rd knot. I'm going to get a good grip on this yarn, because I'm going to wrench on that. And because this is cotton, it's not going to break. I mean, unless you're a lot stronger than me, I guess. Maybe that's a challenge. People are going to try to break. You'll probably end up with your fingers cut before that happens. So now I have a really secure knot. It's secured at the edge of the work. It's secured here with the 2 plies. and I'm just going to cut that really short. And you can see it now, but after it's washed, you can hardly tell. Let me see if I can even find what my ends look like. Oh, there's one. Okay, this is after washing and drying. There's an end. There's actually another one right there. There's one. Every color change you can see a little something, but it's not distracting at all. And they're tight and they're not going anywhere. It's awesome. Okay. And the last thing, I'll just tell you how this goes. Your blanket, your finished blanket ends up being 20 by 27 inches, or that's what the pattern, if your gauge is absolutely on, your blanket will be 20 by 27 inches. And here's what I did. Because, you know, I'm showing this in the video, you know, anytime you're knitting something really beautiful for a baby, I think you want to present it as nicely as possible. So this is completely machine washable and dryable. And if you're giving this away as a gift, you know you can hand it to the new parents and just say, you know, have at it, throw it in the washer, it's fine. But for the first time it's washed, you want to present it. I washed it with some gentle baby soap in the washing machine. And I actually did use the gentle cycle, but the washing instructions don't say that that's necessary. That was just a decision that I made. And then gentle cycle, baby soap, and then I put it in the dryer, but I didn't let it dry 100%. I let it dry 90%, let's say. It was still a little damp to the touch, but it had mostly been fluffed up. It was in good shape. It was mostly dry. And then I have a big blocking board. If you don't have a blocking board, you can just use the floor or a bed or something. And I set it out and I squared everything off, which really wasn't very much work because it's a rectangle. It wasn't hard to square it off. And then I took straight pins and pinned the corners out really straight. So everything was a perfect right angle. And then of course when I folded it up to bring it to the studio today, it's this perfect rectangle that folds up beautifully. And if I was to put this in a box and tie a big bow around it for the parents of the new baby or something, I know it would look really good. So you don't have to pin out the corners like that, but it's certainly a way to take any rectangle you've knit and really make it look just really beautiful and presentable for the first time someone's going to see it, accept their gift. Okay, that's everything to knit the Pick a Knit blanket from Appalachian Baby Design. Again, just click the little eye in the upper right-hand corner to get your kit and your pattern. And many thanks to Appalachian Baby Design. Good luck.